I'm here at the Conservative Networking Conference. It used to be called the Manning Center Networking Conference. Now it's Canada Strong and Free. A new leader of the organization, Jamil Javani. One of the things I like about it this year, as opposed to, say, a decade ago, is the emphasis is less on elected Conservative cabinet ministers. There aren't any. The party's in opposition. And there's a lot of grassroots activists, including the young lady I'm talking with now, Chanel Pfahl. I know you are a fighter in the very important sphere of education and things like that. You've also been in some legal battles. Why don't you, for viewers who aren't familiar with your case, give maybe a 1-minute summary of the fight you're in. I understand the Democracy Fund was helping you, which makes me feel good. Give me a little bit of an update of what battle were you in, what's the status of that fight, and what's next?
Sure. So it's been about 2 years now. I've been investigated a few times, and it all started with a Facebook comment I put out. I said we shouldn't indoctrinate kids with critical race theory. I was investigated for that. I was suspended.
Who investigated you?
I was investigated by my school board first.
So you're a classroom teacher, or what's your position in the school?
I'm no longer teaching now, but at the time I was a high school teacher. I taught mostly science, and they came after me for that.
Who complained?
A teacher, an Ontario teacher. I didn't know, I had never met her, and I had never interacted with her. She's just she was in the Facebook group.
So literally some teachers never had anything to do with you or your classroom, saw you making a comment online and thought she would try and get you fired.
Yeah, she thought it was offensive and harmful and that I should be removed from my position or educated.
What exactly had you said?
I said kids should not be indoctrinated with critical race theory. Schools should be nonpartisan, and teachers should model kindness to everyone and speak out against every form of discrimination they see, including discrimination against white people, which comes from the anti-racist movement, because the anti-racists want us to believe that whites are inherently racist and they're permanently guilty of some kind of sin.
So how did that complaint conclude?
So it concluded with I was suspended for a week, and I'm still appealing it now. My union is helping me with that.
Well, that's good to hear.
But then a year later, it escalated to the level of the Ontario College of Teachers, which is when the Democracy Fund stepped in and helped out. So they supported me for close to a year, and then they decided to back off. Now the latest is that they've now...
Who backed off? The Democracy Fund or...
The Ontario College of Teachers.
Oh, good. So the Democracy Fund stayed with you.
The Democracy Fund stayed with me.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I love the Democracy Fund and I'm glad they didn't back up. So the teachers backed up. So maybe the Democracy Fund helped scare them away.
I think that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, I think it helps when you have some constitutional lawyers who are saying, look, we're allowed to have some opinions in Canada.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. But is there a second part to this story?
There is. Unfortunately, less than a month after this first investigation concluded, they now launched a second investigation, and it has to do with a tweet they didn't like.
A tweet. A tweet.
A tweet. So back in October of this year, I decided to try to get involved. I ran for school board trustee in my local zone there, and an employee of the public Ottawa School Board sent me an email, and I shared that email, and they did not like that. The email was about a board-wide initiative that the board had started, and basically what it was after-school virtual hangouts with kids. So, but it wasn't just for all kids, it was for specific kids. So they would have, on Monday, they would have the Muslim kids hangout, and on Tuesday it would be the LGBT kids hangout. And so I wanted to share that information with parents. I thought it was relevant, and I was running for the school board. I wanted changes in the school board, so that's why I shared it. And they didn't like that.
Sounds like election interference. They're trying to stop a candidate for the school board. Well, listen, you're exactly the kind of conservative grassroots activist I think the movement needs. I should say that one of the most interesting political outcomes in the last couple of years in the United States was the election of Glenn Youngkin as the governor of Virginia, which was a blue state. It was a Democratic Party state, and it was flipped Republican on the school board issue, on woke teaching in classrooms. I think what happened is a lot of parents they were at home with their kids watching the Zoom classes for the first time, and they were shocked. And they said, "This is nuts. We didn't know this was going on." And if I recall, I think there was like a 14-point flip in that governor's race, and now that state is red because of education. And I think that's a great issue for Conservatives. Chantal, you're fighting. I'm glad that the Democracy Fund is fighting with you, and I'm glad that you're here at the conference.
Thank you so much.
That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.